Greetings, YouTube Nation. This video was recorded in late September, and a few days ago I had attended the other seasonal swap meet, which occurs near my house. And this swap meet is hosted by Long Island Classic Train Shows. They hold their monthly swap meets in Lindenhurst, New York, which is an approximate 40 to 45 minute drive from where I live. And as I stated in my Hobby Shop Desert video, the thing about swap meets is that they're seasonal. And this particular seasonal swap meet, they run from September until March, which means there's like a 6-month gap between the time that they wind down and then they start back up. And that means, what are you going to do in the meantime? I mean, of course, there is the other swap meet, which is hosted by Central Operating Lines in East Islip. They run until June, and then they start up again in September. But then, what do you do in the meantime? But, of course, you have alternatives. You have Dr. Evil Bay. You have train shows, if you can swing it. I mean, the larger train shows. And of course you have Facebook Marketplace and the Facebook buy and sell groups. It's not like you have to be forced to starve. So before I introduce the haul, one of the vendors had recognized me from YouTube, and they saw the Hobby Shop Desert video. And he happened to mention to me Bayshore Hobbies, which is an approximate 30 to 35 minute drive from where I live, and it's an approximate 23-mile drive. And he had told me that they were originally in a smaller store, but then they either broke through the walls or they moved to another location within the same strip mall as a Hobby Lobby, and I don't care for Hobby Lobby that much. But I thanked them for letting me know, and I stopped in, and they had quite the selection. They had a lot of HO stuff, a lot of some N-scale stuff, a lot of Lionel O-gauge stuff. The prices I wasn't that enthused with, but you have to remember, and with nothing against hobby shops, if you have a hobby shop that you frequent, support your local hobby shop. But getting back to my point, a lot of the rolling stock and locomotives that they had for sale were for the manufacturer's suggested retail price, which was not in my budget. And since I'm a DC guy and not a DCC guy, all of the locomotives that they had for sale were DCC, with lights and sound, or with the lights and no sound. So, and they didn't have a clearance section where it's beneficial to brothers and sisters on a budget like myself. But the one thing that they did have, which caught my attention and which I did pick up, they had a lot of KD items for sale, a lot of KD couplers and other accessories So I picked up a lot of 148s. I picked up a couple of number 5 couplers. I also picked up an additional KD height gauge, KD coupler height gauge. One of these guys, if you could see it up close. One of these guys. I have two, but you can never have enough. And I think I kind of depleted the guy out of his 148s. Didn't have that many available for sale, so I think whatever I saw I took. But if you think about it, the individual packet of KD couplers will sell anywhere from $5 to $6 before you even factor in the tax, factor in the shipping. If you were to buy it online, the price he had it for sale, it was a wash. So I'm quite happy, and I got plenty of 148s. I do wish that they had a couple of the that they had some KD couplers with the where the shank is underset. That I have to find online. So, without further ado, let's get to the haul. And yes, this is the bag. Just gonna take a few things out here. No. You can't see. You gotta wait until... You gotta wait. Hold on. Now, before I share with you, share my haul with you, I have to make something very clear. And if you don't know already, then you should know that whenever you attend a train show or a swap meet, that you should always spend with your head and not over it. I make a point of it for myself that to have guardrails. And when I say guardrails, it means that anything that catches your attention, is, I mean, it's nice, and, you know, oh, that would be nice to have, and this and that, the other thing, but you shouldn't blow your whole life savings. If I didn't have guardrails, I'd be living in a tent. And so it's always important to set a limit for yourself. Take out only so much, because, you know, remember, if you have a family to support, if you have obligations outside of your hobby, it's important not to break the bank. You know, so I always plan to spend with my head and not over it. If there's nothing that you don't see that catches your attention, you know, don't feel ashamed to pass it up. If there's if there is something there that, oh, that would be nice to have, but do I really need it, or does it really fit in with what I'm running in my layout, what I'm operating in my layout? I've made conscious decisions like that, so it's important that you should as well. Spend with your head, don't spend over it. If it's something that's nice to have, but it's does it really fit in? Is it something that I'm going to be using a lot? Uh, I'm a collector, and I collect and run trains. Um, but there have been times when I just stopped myself. So, all right, enough with that PSA. So moving right along, from the same vendor where I bought those order racks from, and he was selling these order racks and other assorted rolling stock, 5 for $20, which means $4 each. I picked up um, two covered hoppers, and they are quite weathered. And if they're not weathered, then it's just dirty, grimy, and it's weathering on the budget. And what drew me to this particular covered hopper was that the way that it was designed was that in its former life it was a covered hopper that operated under the Pennsylvania Railroad. And any railroad historian will tell you that the Pennsylvania Railroad was merged with the New York Central and the New Haven to become Penn Central. And the Penn Central took off like a lead balloon, and Conrail came around before Amtrak, and Conrail pretty much slapped on their company logo on whatever rolling stock was still of any use, because anyone who knew that the Penn Central didn't take care of of their rolling stock and locomotives. So I saw that covered hopper, and it was a nice thing to have. I also picked up these this Boston and Maine boxcar, which was in pretty good shape. And I also picked up this Conrail High Cube boxcar, which was in very good shape. And the last thing that I bought, as far as rolling stock goes, was a thrall door boxcar. And I kind of like the thrall door boxcars. They're pretty nifty. I have quite a few others. So that was for rolling stock. I did pick up a few locomotives. I picked up this pristine, undecorated shell F unit, and what makes this even more special is that this is a Revell, and it's perfectly intact. The shaft in between the front truck and the rear truck was there, and it ran pretty decent on the test track at the show. Couplers are intact. Don't hate me that it's horn hook, because I like horn hook and I like Katie's. And if I can get Katie's and horn hooks to work together, that's what I'm going to do. Of course, the plastic headlight thing is missing, as well as the plastic number boards. So I'll improvise something. So there's that one. The second item that I picked up for them was a Mahano, and I say Mahano because it's made in Yugoslavia, FP45. I don't model the Northern Pacific, which means this shell, or rather this paint job is going bye-bye. It's going to be repainted, rethemed for something else. Couplers are intact. ran pretty well on the test track. And the last item was this poor fella. This looks like an SD40-2 shell. And this is the shell that goes with it. But underneath is like a whole bunch of wrong. Now, this is the front of the locomotive right here, because you have the light bracket, which, or light bracket receptacle, and as you'll see, there's no light. So, but you know and I know that I'm going to put an LED on here. But originally, I had thought this was an SD40-2 because the commutator of the motor is facing away from the light bracket and towards the rear of the locomotive. And but then I realized that the gear towers are mismounted. It ran awful on the test track, which means I'm gonna have a lot of fun taking this thing apart, cleaning it up, and wondered to myself if I've got another case of Ernst gears on my hands. So this thing's gonna get a once over, and the shell's gonna get a once over. And it is going to get repainted because I don't model the Rio Grande. So there's that fella. So there's more. Moving right along, I also picked up some horn. There was a guy who was selling 99 and 44th 100% Lionel parts, and on one of his containers that he kept on a shelf on top of his tables was a small container that said HO scale couplers. So of course I had to ask, and I picked up a few readily assembled KD couplers, along with one or two couplers that are ideal for lifelike and Tyco rolling stock. So there's that. Also, I found the guy at the Edison show who was selling a lot of tools and who sold me these rotary tool items. This is a good abrasive. It also helps with cleaning the wheels for rolling stock and locomotives. So I picked up a few more because one of the things that I picked up at the Edison show kind of like, it's gone. I used it until it was no more. So there's that. Moving right along, there was a fellow who was selling off his collection. You reach that point in your life where either something comes up that you don't have, where you don't have the time for the hobby, and you have to walk away. Something health related could come up, and you may have no choice but to walk away from the hobby. It's unfortunate. There's no shame in it. But if you can sell off your collection to someone who is getting into the hobby, or is passionate about the hobby and wants to continue on, It's you're finding new homes for these, or you have a friend who was an avid model railroader, moved on to the great gig in the sky, and their surviving family has no interest or no knowledge in the model railroading, so they have it sold off, give it new homes. So this fellow was selling off his collection bit by bit, or whatever tables that he could get at the show. So I bought from him an Athearn FP45 in Burlington Northern Livery. The show's going. I mean, not the show. The paint scheme is going. I'm going to put something else on. And it has KD couplers, and he was selling it for $25. Here's the sticker, $25. So he said, "So do we have a sale?" And so I asked him, can you do 20? So he countered with, "Look, if you take the thing for $25 and for additional $5, I'll throw in this powered, undecorated Bachmann Spectrum Doodlebug for $5. So the total sale was $30. I didn't. The Doodlebug runs, but anyone who's had a Bachmann Spectrum Doodlebug has, you run them until the gears crack. They didn't put too much thought into these things, but he just wanted to let it go, and also included with the Doodlebug are the coupler housing and the cow catcher. So I didn't make out so bad at this show. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for the continued support. If you're not a subscriber, please Please click on the link in the bottom right-hand corner. Please like and share this video. Please like and share my other videos on this channel. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.